Guys, what is going on? DOF here, coming at you with a story time video. Up here where I walk Agar around in the graveyard. Before I tell you the story, I want to tell you a couple things. First off, everything I'm about to tell you is 100% the truth to my recollection. This happened in 2007. And one of the reasons I'm telling this story is because this may help someone who's in a similar situation or sees someone doing something similar. This may help you to better think and realize what you can be going up against. So sit back, relax, guys, get yourself something to drink, and enjoy this story time. So the year is 2007. Well, a friend of mine, one of the toughest guys I've ever known in my life, literally. Seen the guy fight, a big guy, a strong guy. He wasn't lifting weights at the time, but when he was lifting weights, he was benching about 340. And he calls me and he said, "Hey, I need your help with something." And I said, "Okay, what's up?" He told me about this guy that he knows. I did not know the guy. The guy is in prison. We'll talk about that in a little bit. The guy's in prison, and he says, "I'm feeding the guy's dogs." And he says one of the guy's dogs is a Presa Canario, and it's so vicious that even this guy's wife can't get next to it. It's outside in a fenced-in area. I said, "Well, how are you going to get next to it?" He said, "I don't." He said, "I dump the food over the fence, and I stand back and I pour the water over the fence into a water bowl." He said, "But this dog is so vicious, it's hitting this fence with everything it's got and jumping and doing everything in its power and foaming at the mouth trying to get at me." Like I said, keep in mind, this guy was a dog breeder. He used to breed the blue pit bulls. He used to breed Rottweilers. This guy was a tough guy. So when he told me basically that he was scared of this dog, I knew something was very bad. So what he asked of me was, "Would you come and bring a gun? I want you to have a gun ready when I feed this dog. And if this dog gets out or if anything happens, I want you to shoot this dog until it drops to the ground." I said, "Okay." Let's talk about the guy in prison, the guy I did not know. My buddy knew this guy and his family. The dad owned a construction company. The dad is a first-generation immigrant with a great American dream story. His American dream story was that he immigrated to this country legally, and he built up a construction company and was what most people would consider wealthy. Now, along with that wealth came problems. One of the problems was his son, while growing up, was constantly in and out of trouble, in and out of prison, always doing drugs. His dad was bailing him out at every turn, buying everything for this guy. Bought him a brand new sports car when he was 16 in high school. Always bailing him out every time he was in trouble. Now this guy is a grown man in his 30s with a wife and small children, living in a great neighborhood in a nice brick house that his dad fully paid cash for. Still in and out of prison. So, not only did the guy in prison contact my friend, the father that owned the construction company, basically almost in tears called my friend and said, "Would you help with this situation?" So my job was to bring a gun and to kill this dog and to put it down as fast as possible if anything happened. The family knew what was going on. They knew the risks that was being done. So my buddy picks me up. I got a Glock 23, the 40 caliber. And we're driving to this nice town where this guy lives in a nice home where he still can't keep his life straight, and where his dad is yet again bailing him out of prison. We get near the home, and I'll never forget, we pull in the driveway, and the first thing my buddy says is, "Man, I hope this B is not here. Man, I hope this woman is not here," talking about the guy's wife. And I kind of looked at him like, what? Why? He said, "I don't even want to deal with her." He said, "She'll come out here." And he said, "I've been here before to feed these dogs." He said, "Didn't even know if I was going to make it out alive or not with the way this dog was doing everything in its power, foaming at the mouth, trying to bite through this fence and jump over it to get at me." He said, "This isn't anxiety." He said, "This dog is trying to kill me when I feed it." And I believe this man. I know this guy. I knew him for years. He knows what he was talking about. He said, "I don't even want to see her." He said, "She'll come out and she'll just be in the way." So we pull in the driveway, and as we get close to the house, I see some nice land. I see a big fenced-in area, and I see this massive brindle. I think he was 140 pounds. Presa Canario. The dog's long. The dog's big in every aspect. Wide. And he's prancing around in this kennel. And as soon as we pull in, and as soon as we get close to the house, guess what? The wife comes out, and 3 young kids, down to a toddler, come out with her. And he's like, "Oh." And then he said, "This is exactly what I didn't want to happen." So we get over close to the dog, and my buddy tells me, "I don't even want you to get close to this fence. I want you to stand back." And I get close enough to where if something happened, I could pull a shot off. He's going around and getting the food in a big container to dump over the fence into a container that's in there. He pours the water, he gets water, he pours the water in. The dog's hitting the fence, trying everything it can to get to him. This dog was totally vicious. This was a real-life Cujo. I mean, this was one of the craziest scenarios I've ever seen with a dog in person. Then the guy's wife brings out the food bag. He pours food into a container to pour over the fence. The wife goes over to the fence with my friend, and she reaches over the fence and grabs the dog's collar and says, "Go ahead and pour the food." The dog shakes her off like he's shaking off water, slips his collar right out of her hand. There was no possible way she could have held on to him. He immediately bounces down, bounds up, and grabs right onto her forearm and is biting her so hard on her forearm that his mouth is closed. I cannot see anything but his closed mouth. He bit her so hard that his eyes were squinting almost shut. Like, it was a total shock when this happened. I stepped back, drew my gun, and had no way to shoot in this situation. Sometimes this happens, guys. That's why I'm telling you this story. What this dog was doing in this chaotic mess of this woman screaming and flailing was he was pulling backwards with his neck and stepping backwards and pulling her down and trying to pull her into this fenced-in area. He was inching back further and further and further, and she was going further and further into this fenced-in area. My buddy's on the other side, she's on one side. I had no way to get a clean shot. I start to go off to one side, and the only thing that broke this dog's grip was my buddy, the guy that I told you is one of the toughest guys I've ever known. He takes his fist and he comes back up by his ear as high as he can go and leans over this dog. This dog's eyes go from looking at her squinting to him, and the dog lets up and comes back with the threat of this fist. I guess the guy that had lived there that's in prison would probably beat this dog. I don't have, proof of that, so I'm not going to say it's a fact. But when this dog saw my buddy back his fist up to his ear and with his elbow pointing up in the air like he was going to come down and punch this dog, the dog's eyes went from squinting and looking at her to him, and the dog let up just enough that she could get back out of there. Okay, now, the dog is down in the fence. My buddy pulls her away. There's no longer a threat. I'm not shooting this dog. Right now, we got to take care of this lady. I don't know what the damage is, but I know it's bad. So, the kids that were out were so used to chaos and messes and domestic violences from the guy that was in prison that they wasn't even that far away, and the lady screaming and all this going on, and the little boy was just over there still playing on his little bike that he had, his little tricycle. Didn't even care. He's playing on a little, like a big wheel type thing. The kids didn't even care. Didn't cry, didn't even faze them. They were so used to chaos and messes in that home. Such a sad situation. So, he gets her, and the damage to her arm is so bad that we get her in the house, and what we use to wrap her arm while we're getting to the phone, we wrapped her arm in an area rug that was about a 12 by 6. You know how people put area rugs down on a big wood floor? Like a 12 by 6? This is what we used to wrap her arm in. And my buddy's like, where's the phone? Where's the phone? One of the little, just a little older than a toddler, stands up on a chair and shows us it's on the wall. I get the phone, I call 911. I say, there's a lady here that she's been bit by a dog. This is what the damage is. Medics rush out, okay? Medics see this damage to her, and within minutes, 4 police cars and a full fire department truck shows up. The full big long truck with the ladder and the whole 9 yards, with guys in there. They all get out, more ambulances come, and several police cars, 3 to 4. Now, one of the medics gets the cop, takes him in the house. I'm outside. He shows the cop the damage. This is what the cop does. He comes straight out, goes to his cruiser, gets the shotgun out, pumps the shotgun in the air. As soon as he got out of the car, not even near the dog, says he's going to put the dog down. My buddy steps in front of this cop, and he says, you ain't shooting crap, so to speak. The cop took a step back and goes, why? It kind of took the cop off guard. He said, because this dog is on private property, the owner's not here, and I'm not letting you shoot this dog. Now, in my opinion, that I don't want to go into my opinions and stuff on this. I'm telling you guys a story. That dog was done. That dog needed euthanized. But I would have tried to have somebody get it to the vet and do it the right way. My buddy told the cop, you ain't shooting this dog. But he used a lot more colorful language than what I'm doing, and the cop backed down, put the gun away. So then, and we joked about this for years, me and my friend. The cops were looking at the dog in the fence, and since it didn't get its food, my buddy gave me a loaf of bread and said, here, let's get this dog fed. We were putting food in the bread, balling it up into big balls and throwing it over the fence. The cops were there for a long time. They witnessed us throwing the food over the fence from a distance. The cop said, I want to see you go pet that dog. It's a family pet, right? It's a family pet. I want to see you go pet that dog. Why can't you pet that dog? They were up on a hill. They were clowning us like that. They were standing there saying this the whole time. They were mad because they got told that they weren't going to come on somebody else's property and shoot a dog. That was between my buddy, the guy in prison, and the police. Had nothing to do with me. These cops were hot. And it's a family pet. Let me see you pet it. Why can't you pet it? They were standing up on the hill, literally doing this to us while this lady's arm was almost bit off. And I'm going to tell you the extent of her damages here in a minute. And we're down there, and, you know, my buddy's saying stuff back to him, but I don't know what all he's saying. We're trying to get this done. We're balling up kibble into bread and making it like into moist pieces of kibble, or making it into moist, like snowball type things, and throwing it over the fence to the dog. They get her out of there, and they take her in the ambulance. Police start to leave, the fire department and the big truck leaves. The next day, my friend calls me. He talked to the father of the guy that's in prison that owns the Presa Canario. The father told him that the woman was in surgery for 7 straight hours. 4 tendons in her arm were completely severed. There was damage to the bone. The bone was cracked. And she would have lost feeling in most of her hand and probably would not be able to have grip like she did before for the rest of her life. Now, that was one of the craziest situations I've witnessed. When I tell you that I didn't have a chance, a good clear shot to shoot this dog, I drew the gun. The scene's hectic. The dog's backing up, pulling this lady in. She's flailing around, her other arm's going in the fence. If I would have just went off popping shots at this dog, I ran a serious risk of possibly injuring her. I just didn't have the shot, guys. Sometimes this happens. But I just want you guys to know that when things like this happen, it can go wrong. Now, here's something I want to tell you too. This dog had absolutely no training whatsoever. Had never had bite training in its life. Had never been to any kind of class in its life. This guy raised the dog from a puppy on his own. Now, most dogs will not stay in the fight if they're not trained. They'll come in, they'll nip, they'll bite, they'll back up. Most times when a dog seems aggressive, it's fear and anxiety, and the dogs will normally turn, tuck tail, and run the other way, or they'll come in, bite quickly, nip quickly, and back out. This dog was not only in it for the fight, it was inching her, it was pulling her in inch by inch, and it was going to kill her. I have no doubt in my mind that this dog would have killed that lady, without a doubt. As she was inching further and further, her head was going further and further down into that fence, as this dog was yanking its neck back and then stepping back, yanking its neck back and stepping back, and pulling her in inch by inch. From the last I heard, which was years ago, the lady's doing fine, the kids are doing fine. The dog was put down. The father of the guy in prison had them come get the dog and put the dog down the proper way, and everything's good. So guys, I hope you enjoyed this story time, and until next time, you guys have a great weekend. This is DOF Agar. Be safe out there, guys, and we are out.